a great bit of information from you. I'm actually going to be showing you, reading to you court documents from a real estate investment trust that has gone belly up. We're going to talk about it. This is literally days old. It's not really in the news yet. You're going to see it coming out of the news here pretty shortly, but this is court documents from a real estate investment trust. Like I said, it's imploding for the last couple of years, ever since I started the Economic Ninja channel. And if you are finding this channel, this is not the Economic Ninja channel, it's the Real Estate Ninja. Please subscribe. But I've been not a fan of real estate investment trust. What a REIT is an investment that people can make, investors can make, with being completely hands-off, but yet having a lot of exposure into the real estate market, into the rental market, right? And so they invest money, and they literally get pennies on the dollar in return for a company, a third party, taking your investment money, purchasing real estate, managing it, and then giving back in the form of dividends to shareholders, part of the money. And I really think it's pennies on the dollar. Matter of fact, I've seen some really well-known, I can't even say it online, but let's just put it this way. He spends a lot of money on YouTube and Facebook to advertise. We're talking millions and millions of dollars to put his face all over the world. And his REITs are going to be coming under fire here in the public eye here, I believe, pretty shortly. And one of the biggest reasons that all of these REITs are going to come crashing down is because they are exposed in the commercial side of things. And commercial mortgages are totally different than residential mortgages, whereas a lot of the times you have to refinance these mortgages, even though they may be termed out or run a term of 20, 30 years, sometimes even longer. They have to be refinanced every 5 or so years. And so right now, what you're seeing with this explosion in interest rates, people that have REITs, they've been running on a certain margin, especially right now. Let's say you're at a 5-year cycle that you're having to refinance right now in a real estate investment trust. You got in at a much, much, much lower rate in 2018. Now you're faced with having to refinance, and the consumers tapped out, your renters are tapped out. You've already hit the top peak rental amounts. As a matter of fact, we've seen those amounts come down pretty drastically in certain locales across the nation. Usually it's always the busier, bigger balloon that's been blown up in the real estate market, in the rental market. Those are popping right now, right? So you're going to see these REITs implode. Now, a lot of investors wanted, over the last 10 years, a lot of exposure to real estate, and they didn't want to be hands-on. And so I get it, that they invest in these. Just get ready, because we're going to be reading these court documents to you about Blackwells Capital, LLC. And you're going to see really quick that the investors, the people that put the money in, are going to be hung out to dry, whereas the LLC membership, the owners of these REITs, they've written these documents they've spent lots and lots of your money on good lawyers to write it to where they get out first, they get made whole, and you were left with the risk. At one point, you signed a document, if you're involved in real estate trusts, that you take on the risk. And you're going to see, especially like with this one YouTuber that's very boisterous, and I really do not like at all, just really don't have a lot of respect for the person. You're going to see the retail investor that they got conned into this, because usually it used to be, or you had to be an accredited investor. I became accredited when I was, I want to say, 24 years old, and went through all the hoops to prove my net worth and how much I make and all that kind of stuff to be able to get to that point. But certain people brought it on and brought it to social media and literally made it for the masses. And so there's a lot of average people that are about to get hit and lose a lot of money. Before I start this real quick, I'm starting something new, and I put it up in the description. I'm getting emails and comments from amazing real estate agents from around the country for the last year and a half that really get it. They understood this tide was turning, and they were preparing for it, and they have a lot more knowledge than the average real estate agent in the market. And I'm getting tons of emails from people that are trying to buy or sell real estate that need an agent that actually gets it, that doesn't roll their eyes at them, that tells them, you're wrong. Real estate doesn't go down. It just keeps going up over time. Look at these long charts, just regurgitating stuff. So I put information down at the bottom. We're going to start connecting you guys around the country. So for both real estate agents looking for good clients, for clients looking for a good, knowledgeable real estate agent that gets it, it's not going to roll their eyes at you. go ahead and take a look at that in the description. I'm going to pin it above too, or in the comment section once this video is done. All right, so this is out of the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, Washington, D.C., and it's a Schedule 14A that I'm reading. And this is the definitive additional materials page that I'm reading from. And it is for the Necessity Retail REIT Incorporated. It also covers multiple names, Blackwells Capital LLC, Blackwells Onshore One LLC, Jason Antabi, Related Fund Management LLC, Jim Lozier, and Richard O'Toole. All right. Now, this is yet just one example of what you're about to see court filings all around the country exploding in the fall of residential real estate investment trusts or real estate investment trusts that are going to be imploding, both commercial and residential. But just understand, REITs are going to be all tied to the commercial mortgage market. Okay. And that's what's really, really scary. It's a big market. Even though you think you're investing in single family home REITs, it's commercial mortgages that they are pulling, commercial loans that they were pulling. So they have to refinance these. So even if your REIT wasn't established in 2017, 2018, let's say it was in 2020, 2019, 2020, understand that as they get closer to the point where they have to refinance, they are going to be refinancing at much, much higher rates. Okay. So that's where, you know, these things are going to go south really quick. It says on April 18th, 2023, Blackwells Capital LLC issued a press release which references a letter that Blackwells Capital began mailing to stockholders of the Necessity Retail REIT Incorporated on April 19th of 2023. The full text of the letter is included in the press release, a copy of which is filed in Exhibit 1. Also, I want to thank the subscriber, and I totally apologize, I'm blanking out on his name, that emailed this to me this morning, and I wanted to get it to you right away. He emailed this information to me through ninjarohawk@gmail.com. Please do not use that email to ask for financial advice. I cannot give it to you. Okay, so here it is. Blackwells Capital issues letter to shareholders on the Necessity Retail REIT ahead of critical vote at the 2023 annual meeting. Current board has failed shareholders by presiding over abysmal financial results, industry worst corporate governance, and the plundering of value by AR Global. Those are pretty sharp words. Since RTL's IPO in 2018, there have been 8 dilutive stock offerings totaling $191 million. During the same period, AR Global has collected $498 million in payments from RTL shareholders. We believe this represents a looting of corporate coffers of the highest order. That is absolutely damning if that is true. Now, let me stop here real quick and take a brief little reprieve from this information and remind you that there are pension funds right now that are panicked. Especially, we saw it go in the news from the state of Florida where Ron DeSantis got involved, and because it was going very underreported, but pension funds around the country have been trying to pull funds from Blackstone's real estate investment trust sector. And Blackstone literally capped very interesting number, capped the amount of withdrawals from their REIT at $666 million. Now, what was happening is they were hemorrhaging. Very interesting number that they stopped at too, might I add. And so it became news because Ron DeSantis got involved and is like ordering them to withdraw. And they're saying, no, we're not. And at the same time, they're taking your pension funds. They're raising money right now for the largest real estate drawdown fund in history. Why? They know how bad it is. What blows me away is how the common man or woman or the average real estate agent, loan broker has zero clue what's going on. That's what's so exciting about me being able to bring you this news, because I lived through this from 2005 to 2009, and I lost all my friends. I wasn't a real estate agent back then. I hadn't, started real estate brokerages too. I actually started my first real estate brokerage before I was a real estate agent, which is totally legal. I had a real estate, a broker of record, put together the corporate thing, because that's my gift. I can put together teams and get things running like that. I had to become a real estate agent because one of the breakdowns in a $35 million property that we were negotiating were breaking down. So I had to run and go challenge the test to become an agent so that I could legally be involved in these talks because I know how to sell things. I know how to buy things. I know how to negotiate, right? That's a gift of mine. Not toot my own horn. I screw things up all the time. But my point being is that when I was warning everyone in 2006, I didn't have the professional thing. Now, I was a professional real estate investor in the eyes of the IRS. I actually qualified because I was working so many hours a week in the real estate field, flipping homes and buying cash flowing properties and things like that. I actually gained the title of a real estate professional in the eyes of the IRS. So I got special write-offs, right? That's what I was searching for, was the write-offs. But now I get to bring you guys through this collapse and explain to people and wake people up beforehand so that you guys can be ready. And I want to be ready to buy as much real estate as possible during this downturn. Why should the banks have all this fun? Honestly. All right, let's dive back into this REIT because this is very, very important, very relevant. And you're going to see more of these. We're going to cover more of these on the channel. So if you're involved in REITs, you may want to look at this and go, is this for me right now? Is my REIT, when was it established? Remember, around 5 years. Every 5 years, they've got to start refinancing those. Even though they're termed out over 20 or 30 years, they've got to refinance. And they can't refinance now. All right, but this is totally different. They're like saying, hey, you raised 498 million, but there's been 8 dilutive stock offerings, and they think they've actually been skimming from the top, but I think it's way deeper than that. It says right here, we believe this represents a looting of corporate coffers at the highest order. They urge shareholders to vote on a white universal proxy card to elect Blackwell's 2 highly qualified and independent director candidates. Okay, so that's information that went out into the metaverse to wake up the shareholders. Right, check this out. This is out of New York, April 18th, 2023, out of the Business Wire. Blackwells Capital LLC, together with its affiliates, Blackwells, or we, today issued a letter to fellow shareholders regarding the urgent need for a boardroom change at the Necessity Retail REIT Incorporated. This is a publicly traded company. It's the NASDAQ. I'm not telling you to buy or sell this short. The symbol is RTL. We invite all shareholders to learn more about our case for change and director candidates at stoparglobal.com. To the full letter to shareholders has been reproduced below. So I'm going to read this to you right now. To the 184 people that hit the thumbs up, thank you so much. At the upcoming annual meeting of shareholders, shareholders have an opportunity to halt the ongoing destruction of value at Necessity Retail REIT Incorporated. As you may know, Blackwells has been working tirelessly on behalf of all shareholders to hold AR Global Investments, the parent company of the advisor and property manager of the RTL, to account for its self-dealings and self-enrichment to substantial detriment of shareholders. We believe the case for boardroom change is clearly based on the following. RTL trades at a 66% discount to its net asset value and 62% discount to peers. This is due to the chokehold of its significantly off-market management agreement with AR Global. Since 2015, RTL has paid AR Global $498 million in fees and expenses, while RTL shareholders have suffered a 62% stock price decline, representing $1.3 billion in total value destruction. Now, a little explanation of that is where they may be really looking at this is going, look, your publicly traded entity has paid this other entity, which I do not know if I do not think it's publicly traded because they would usually have to disclose that, all of this money while our stock is getting hit super hard. Now, one thing I wanted you to understand, this is a publicly traded REIT, totally different than a privately held REIT, okay? Why is the biggest reason? Because the ability to short this publicly traded entity is out there and very serious and very real. So shareholders don't understand that when you may just be buying stock in a REIT, the ability to short and push down the value of that stock based on current news and events is very real. So I personally would not be investing money in a publicly traded REIT because you now have taken on additional downside pressures. Like, it's not good. Now, all usually retail investors think about is like, I'm getting involved in a REIT. There's going to be a dividend. It's super easy. I get to completely circumvent the process of being proving that I'm a qualified accredited investor, and there's tons of upside because if the news comes out that real estate's booming, then everything's going up, right? And I'm sure that I haven't checked the chart of this, but I'm sure you're going to be able to put down in the comments below. During 2020 to 2022 era, that stock probably took off, right? Because everybody wanted exposure to the real estate market, because all they heard in the news was real estate's doing great. Real estate never goes down. Everything's going to be amazing, right? Until it doesn't. And now you're going to see this. So it's interesting that we're covering this publicly traded REIT, but there's also behind the scenes, and I can't say the name because they'll literally want to sue me and send lawyers to me. But I'm telling you, it's very serious. There is it's gonna be exciting. You're gonna see people that are literally going, "Holy cow! I just lost a bunch of money." But there's both public and private companies. All right. Since RTL's initial public offering in 2018, there have been 8 dilutive stock issuances at the behest of AR Global. While shareholders have had to suffer through each of these dilutive issuances, AR Global's unchecked parade against RTL's coffers has led to annual fees and expenses increasing 3 times during the same period. You know, it's interesting too, is when you have a publicly traded company, you just dilute the stock, right? I have a company that I'm a part of that will more than likely go public in the next year and a half. That is something that's always on our mind. We cannot dilute stock. You don't have to dilute stock. We have to keep bringing shareholder value. Why? Because there's 2 different models in the stock market. You could dilute the crap out of the stock, and the board, the C-suite execs, anyone, the founders are part of that whole understanding, like, hey, we're diluting the stock, and as long as the news flows right, it's not really taking a hit. Like, retail investors really don't know what's going on. Maybe there's not the right analysts that are watching the stock, or we don't have enough analyst coverage, so they're not covering this. And what we're going to do is we're going to sell all of our stuff, or we're going to hold, special shell companies in the Cayman Islands and different places. This stuff really happens. And then we're going to sell that off and stay out of the a watchful eye of the regulators. This kind of stuff happens. And once you get really deep into companies, starting companies, and most people just don't know how this works. And so, like right here, they went and did 8 stock offerings that diluted the shares, but in a bull market from 2020 to 2018, or 2022, even 2018, 2019, literally, if you're in a bull market, a lot of retail investors don't pay attention. They're just buying the hype. The algos are trading the news and not trading the market cap, as opposed to how many shares are fully diluted, right? So that's this is the stuff I just really love to wrap my teeth around, because it's so easy to see where all of this is headed this fall and into this next winter, into 2024. It is going to be absolutely devastating, and it's going to be really exciting. And trust me, because this is opportunities, right? I mean, if you're in REITs right now in the stock market, I'm going to be honest with you, I wouldn't own any, but I'm not telling you what to do. That's financial advice, right? So my point being is that you need to be aware of what's going on and how big this is going to get, because this is going to be great for the political news cycle when it comes to debates and who's going to become the next president. All right. Okay, here we go. So let's go a little bit further. It says here, we believe, another point they're making, we believe RTL's board of directors and management is profoundly conflicted and have enabled AR Global's self-dealing and corporate privacy. These entanglements include RTL CEO, president and chairman Michael Wheel, who is the founding partner of AR Global. So there you go. They've already built the connections between these 2 companies. It goes into other directors and stuff, but see, they're skimming. This company is doing dilutive stock offerings, raising money, and then paying excessive fees from this company that's them too. And they're going, hey, we should raise fees for you. And they're like, that sucks, but okay. And they're literally just skimming money. And I'd almost bet that AR Global is a private entity, which is going to be very, very, very interesting, because they probably set it up properly and have different people on that board, different people in their C-suite execs on the private company. So it's harder to pierce that corporate veil. They're going to have to prove, so they got a long road ahead of them, but they're going to have to prove that they knew exactly, they were coherent and implicit, and, or I don't even have the right word, but they knew exactly what was going on. One hand knew what the other hand was doing, and then they could pierce that corporate veil. But it's going to be really tough. I'd be surprised if they do. It says right here, Blackwells believes that RTL needs drastic corporate governance changes. In connection with the annual meeting, Blackwells has nominated 2 independent and highly qualified individuals for the RTL board, Jim Lozier and Richard O'Toole. Both individuals bring a wealth of real estate and fiduciary experience, along with a track record of creating value. So what they're trying to do is stack the deck with people that are familiar with the situation and friendly to Blackwells, so that they can start to drastically change what's going on, this connection between the REIT and the management company. You see, they need voting power and all that kind of stuff. So that's what's going on. And I want to close on this because I think it's very, very important. And oh, here, check this out. This explains it a lot. This is about Blackwells Capital. Blackwells Capital was founded in 2016 by Jason Antibes, its chief investment officer. Since that time, it has made investments in public securities, engaging with management and boards, both publicly and privately, to help unlock value for shareholders, including shareholders, employees, and communities. Blackwell's investments in real estate have ranged from property development and management to REITs. So essentially, think of them as a not propaganda, like an activist style company that comes in and takes over management of companies that are poorly managed, and they want to find as much value as possible. But what's honestly going to happen right now in the real estate investment world is you're going to see a total gutting of these REITs, especially the publicly traded ones are going to be super easy to collapse. The private ones are going to be really interesting because you're going to be dealing with a lot of investors that are accredited investors, and they know, they signed on the dotted line. You have the ability to lose every single dime. As a matter of fact, whenever I sign documents that I'm an accredited investor, I have to literally write out the amount I'm investing, and it says how much are you going to possibly lose, and I have to write out the amount for that in my own writing and sign that I'm stating that I am going to probably more than likely lose all that money. They write it in a way that this is an open shut case. But that's the difference between being accredited and non-accredited. Okay, guys, hopefully you have a great day. And I want to tell you again, if you're looking for a real estate agent around the country, or you're an agent that's looking for a buyer or seller that understands literally where we're at and why you need to move a little faster, why you need to market differently than the average real estate agent out there, then I'm going to put the information. It's in the description. After this is processed, I'm going to put it in the pinned comments. Guys, I hope you have a great day. The Real Estate Ninja is out.